A few webinar tips for today. The presentation will run roughly 30 minutes. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the presentation. Q&A will follow. Feel free to post any questions in the webinar chat pane, and the presentation will be made available after the live broadcast. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let's introduce your speaker for the day, Derek Barca. Derek is the Chief Technology Officer here at Silvertech. Welcome, Derek.
Hey everyone, thanks Lucy. Happy to be here. As Lucy mentioned, my name is Derek Barca. I'm the CTO here at Silvertech. If you're not familiar with Silvertech, we are a digital marketing agency headquartered out of Manchester, New Hampshire. We specialize in things like website design and development, digital marketing, creative development for your digital marketing needs, for your website needs, things like that, as well as custom application and web and mobile development. Our niche is really what I'm going to be talking about today, which is how do you connect your marketing strategy with your technical strategy to create that ultimate customer experience that your customers are looking for and have really come to expect. And when I think about that customer experience, I think back to the last 30 years or so, we've had a number of technological advances that have really changed the way people interact with each other and companies for that matter. The first, of course, was the advent of the PC and the internet, which born companies like Netflix and Amazon. Although back in those days, Netflix was just sending us DVDs to watch that we selected online, and Amazon was shipping books. But fast forward to 2007, when the iPhone was first introduced, and that really changed the way all of us interact with each other, interact with the world, and with the brands we've come to know. And I think the best brands really start to understand that and take advantage of that always connected world that we've come to expect. And when we think of those best brands, we think of, like I mentioned, Netflix, Bank of America, and Amazon. And a lot of us might be thinking, I'm a small bank, or maybe I'm a small credit union, in rural America, and I'm not going to compete with those brands. How is this applicable to me? And what I like to say to that is you might not be Amazon, but your customers are also customers of Amazon and Netflix and Spotify. And their best digital experience somewhere is now their expectation everywhere. And if you're not meeting that expectation, then you're falling short, and they might start to look for someone that can meet that expectation. And that might sound scary and daunting, but I'm not here to say that you need a $2 million marketing budget and a year roadmap to come out and all of a sudden be the next Amazon or Netflix. But you need to start somewhere. And the way we frame that is this customer experience digital roadmap mountain that we like to try and climb so that we can aspire to be one of these best brands. But we know that it's going to take baby steps to get there. And what do those baby steps look like? And that's kind of what I'm hoping to go over today, and maybe give you some of the insights that we've learned over the years, and kind of the tools and tips and tricks that can help you kind of start that journey to a really pristine customer experience for your customers. And that roadmap's going to go over 5 steps. To start though, before you can even talk about being a conversational banking or one-to-one banking leader, you need to really start being modern and relevant. And what exactly does that mean? To get there, I like to use an analogy that one of our design leads uses a lot, and I've come to steal it, and it works well. It's essentially a kitchen. Everyone knows what a kitchen is. We all have one, and it might even look like this kitchen, or we might have been in a kitchen that looks like this recently. And this is a perfectly functional kitchen. It has a stove. I can cook my family dinner. I can go in the fridge and get out food and snacks and pack my kids' lunches and things like that. I can entertain a small crowd here, but while it's functional, it's not truly usable, and it's certainly not usable to everyone. If I had a relative or a friend that maybe was in a wheelchair or something like that, they might have trouble getting around this kitchen. They might not be able to reach those cabinets. It's not a fully functional space for everyone, and it wasn't designed kind of for the optimal customer experience that we know today. You could take that same exact kitchen and give it a pretty dramatic facelift. And the first thing we're going to notice is, obviously, aesthetically, it's much more appealing, which is a good thing. I want to engage with this kitchen. I want to come sit down and maybe I want to sit down and have a drink with my friends and family. Maybe my wife can sit at the breakfast bar and have a glass of wine while I'm cooking dinner. My kids can do their homework here while we're cooking, things like that. the point here is it's much more open and it's much more usable. My purpose of the story is this kitchen was designed with a purpose in mind, and that was the usability of the people that are going to experience this kitchen. And the same really applies for your website. So here's an example of a pretty standard banking website. It has your online login. It has personal and business sections. It's a functional website. I can go here and find new products. I can log into online banking. But from a usability perspective, if I had a vision disability, I probably can't read that text over the picture. I probably can't read the white on orange. So it's not usable and doesn't have a good customer experience for all users. If I open it up on a mobile device, it's the same website. It's not adapting to the technology. I wouldn't be able to. My fingers are probably too big to kind of click on some of those links. So it's not, while it's functional, it's not what I would consider a usable website, and that's unfortunately all too common the case. So what does it mean to get that modern and relevant base? And it really comes down to what we've all heard. It's mobile first development. It's responsive development. It's really getting rid of those old, clunky, and slow sites that really have become a liability to your brand and your organization, and moving towards a site that is designed for the form factor, which is the mobile device that most of our customers are using today. And most importantly, it's an accessible and usable website, but it's also goal achieving. When we redesigned that kitchen, we thought about the goals we had in mind. It was to be able to entertain our family there, to have friends and family over and things like that, and really design the space for that need. Your website is no different. You should be designing it to achieve your goals, which might be cross-selling to existing members and customers, or attracting new members. So that's essentially modern and relevant. Once we're kind of there, that's the base. You can't go any further unless we have a modern and relevant website. But moving on from there, we start to talk about becoming engaging and frictionless. And what does that mean? When I talk about engaging and frictionless, there's another story I could tell. This is my daughter, freshman in high school, very charming, very engaging, not at all frictionless, but that's not the point of the story. She's a big soccer player, made the varsity soccer team as a freshman. I was super proud of her. And I was going to one of her games one day. It was actually the second game of the year this year. It was the first away game. I cut out of work a little bit early, headed over there. It's about a 10-minute drive. And I pulled in as the game was starting, and she was out there starting, and I was happy, excited to watch her. But as she started to play, I realized there was something weird going on with her leg. And I couldn't really tell what it was. But as she got closer, I realized she had her bandage on her leg. I was like, oh, what happened? She was fine this morning. Did she hurt herself at school? Did she hurt herself warming up? And then as she got closer, I realized that it wasn't an injury at all. But what had actually happened was she brought one white sock and one black sock to the game, but she had to wear a white sock to play. So she found a bandage essentially and wrapped it around the black sock to make it look white. So while I was impressed with her ingenuity to get out there in the field, I was also a little embarrassed. So I had to rectify the situation, obviously. So what would any normal parent do? They reach into their pocket, they pull out their phone, and they bring up the Amazon app, and 30 seconds later, I had 4 new pairs of white socks being delivered to my house. The point of this is what an engaging, frictionless experience is, and this is what people have come to expect from all of their engagements, whether it be buying something online, whether it's opening a new account, or ordering something off Netflix. This is what our experience is today, and the same applies to banking. Another story I have about this kind of experience that we've come to expect is this summer. One of my wife's good friends' car broke down. The auto mechanic called, said it couldn't really be fixed, at least not for a worthwhile price. So she set out on the market to buy a new car. Now, unfortunately, she didn't have a car, so my wife, offered to drive her around, help her find a new car. So they spent the better part of 2 days going to all the local dealerships, test driving every Jeep Wrangler they could find. She ultimately found a car, was happy, and all was good. But during this process, my wife discovered that she also wanted the Jeep, of course, because she's been test driving Jeeps all this time. Now, I had never owned a Jeep or had driven a Jeep, so we didn't really know what to expect. So we casually started looking around, test driving and things like that. But then, one fine summer day, I was sitting at work, and my wife texted me and said, I found the one I like. The salesman's expecting to see you at noon to take it for a test drive. So I knew what this meant. It meant that I was probably buying a Jeep today, but I didn't want to go to the dealership, unprepared. So I, fired up my browser and started searching around for interest rates in the area. I wanted to show up prepared to make that purchase and not be, at the dealer's whim to give me whatever rate they wanted to. So I browsed around and I finally ended up on this site. It was the best rate I could find. Decided to let's go for it. I wanted to apply now, but first off, it took me a minute to find the apply now button. The button is quite small, in the same font as everything else. It's the same color as everything else. Where if you think back to Amazon, that one-click buy now button is a giant orange in your face. You know exactly what to do when you have an item in front of you. Very simple. Same thing should be with this site. The apply now button, the conversion should be much, much more intuitive. But either way, I click apply now, and now I'm presented with this page. And this now I'm starting to get frustrated because I'm on the auto loans page. I click apply now, and now I'm on a new page that's asking me again, what do I want to do? Do I want a credit card? Do I want a home equity line, or do I want a vehicle loan? So, okay, I click again, I'll apply for a vehicle loan. Here on again, a third screen asking me what the general purpose of my loan is, even though I've clicked on auto 3 times now. So now I'm annoyed and have to fill out this form that's, kind of also annoying. It's asking me for, a make and model, a year, the vehicle mileage, all this information I don't actually know because I haven't actually seen the vehicle yet. But I know roughly I want to spend, $30,000 and I want to get approved for a loan. Why do I have to provide all this information to you? And I scroll down even further, and now they're asking me about, gap protection and credit, life, and disability protection. I haven't been approved for a loan yet. I haven't converted on a loan yet, but I'm also already being sold new products that I might not even understand what they are. And this is silly, but I filled the information anyway. And again, I'm introduced to another screen with a ridiculous amount of fields on it that I have to fill out. Again, the driver's license number, not information that you really need in order for me to get a loan. So, and rather than this being an engaging and frictionless experience, it's making it harder for me to actually become a customer of this bank. But I power through and I fill it out because it's the rate I want, and I'm on my way. But it certainly didn't leave a good taste in the mouth, and I probably wouldn't, further my relationship with this bank. On the flip side, this experience could be super, super seamless and pretty engaging. Here is another example of what that situation could look like. This is the credit union in Texas. I come to this website and I'm immediately greeted with a call to action saying, I want a loan because I'm getting a new car. I don't have to click through several links to find auto loans or rates like that. I'm presented immediately with a call to action that's applicable to me, and it's a picture of a Jeep to boot. So now I'm engaged with this brand, right? So I go ahead and click see my options, and I get another clear call to action about an instant decision with rates as low as 2.39%. Very, very easy. Or I have this nice calculator in front of me where I can select the vehicle I want. I can look at, fair purchase prices, put in down payment information, actually see, what type of monthly payment I'm looking for. If I'm happy with this, I can easily click, contact us and get a couple of very, very clear options. Again, I can apply now. I can give someone a call or, fill out a quick and simple form for them to give me a call back. Either way, very simple, very straightforward, frictionless options that I have available to me. I go ahead and click apply now. And rather than that old form that I saw, I'm greeted with a very simple 3-step process. Let's get started. The amount's already filled in for me, so I can click next. Fill in the basics of any application. Obviously, they need my name, my phone number, and email address, so they know how to get a hold of me. All completely acceptable information. I can click next, and all at this point, all I have to give them is my social security number, date of birth, address, and annual income. Again, all fair information, easy to see, easy to view forms, and I'm done. Review the form, fill it out, and I'm well on my way. This, compared to the other one, is how, as a consumer in 2019, after engaging with other brands that know how to provide a customer experience, this is the experience I expect from my bank, and this is how anyone would expect to see it. Now, on the back side of things here, to kind of facilitate how all this works, this particular client has Salesforce, so A lead comes in from the website, you can easily dump it into Salesforce so an auto loan specialist can follow up with them. The nice about this, I can also track my ROI. How many of us have lead conversions on our website or have online applications, but can't really tell whether or not they're working well or not. When we start tracking them in a tool like Salesforce or any other CRM for that matter, now we can sort of see, leads come from this campaign have higher failure rates. Leads come from this campaign have, much higher rates for being actually approved and funded. Now we can know where to put our money and things like that. So that's what a good, engaging, frictionless experience looks like from a banking and an online application standpoint. But how do we get here? Before we can start talking about creating these engaging and useful user experiences, we need to know who our users are. For example, we have Ralph and Sandra here. If both of these customers walked into one of our bank branches, we're not going to have the same conversation with both of them. We're not going to talk to Ralph about his first time home buyer's mortgage. We're not going to talk to Sandra about a money market account that requires a $10,000 deposit because we know she doesn't have $10,000. So if we're not going to have the same conversation with these two different types of users in person, then why would we be having that same conversation online? And that's what happens when we create standard calls to action and hero imagery and just make it generic for whoever's coming to the website. So when we look at creating personas for our clients and things like that, we don't just focus on the demographics like age, gender, location, and things like that. We look at the more important things like motivations and influences. What's going to motivate Sandra to interact with my brand? What's going to frustrate Sandra? What's going to stop her from becoming a customer? Is that online loan application that's 4 steps and 50 fields going to stop her from becoming a customer? If I know that ahead of time, I can do what I can to kind of circumvent that from happening. And then finally, obviously, what's that ideal online experience? We take all that information and compile it into our personas and summarize them here. When we typically build these, they're much more detailed, but these are kind of our executive summary overview. We can see it has key decision variables. In this case, retired Ralph has a high financial literacy but a low digital competency. We know he doesn't own a smartphone and probably isn't interacting with us via mobile, whereas student that Sandra has very low financial literacy. In fact, she's put off by financial lingo. She's weary of fees and things like that, and it's kind of distrustful of banks and things like that. She's actually never been in our branch and never had a one-on-one relationship with a bank. Her parents probably set up her first account and she's been using those same accounts ever since. However, she has a super high digital competency and would be using your online app and your mobile app and things like that. But as we kind of understand who our personas are, then we can start to craft what those user journeys and engaging experience look like. So if student debt Sandra comes to our website to apply for a loan, we know she's going to go through an awareness and engagement phase, and then go into education consideration, and then hopefully decide to convert. And from there, we like to take a step even deeper. In that first research phase, what exactly is Sandra doing? We know she's opening up her phone, we know she's going to Google, and we know she's searching for a new auto loan. Because we know that, now we know we need strong content with important keywords that are going to appeal to her and Google so that she can find us. We also know that maybe we want to be advertising on Google or social media about auto loans and targeting people like student debt Sandra. Next, she's going to come and actually visit our website and learn more about us. We know she's going to come on her mobile device. So again, it has to be that mobile first engaging experience. And she'll start to learn more about us and then finally get to that comparison stage. And remember, I mentioned she's weary of hidden fees and unknown terms and things like this. So we know at this point of that journey, we need to provide her content that is in the form of maybe comparison charts or tables, something that's easily digestible and doesn't have a lot of financial lingo and things like that. It's going to move her along our way. Finally, she's going to assess and then hopefully apply. Again, at this application stage, what does that application process look like? Is she picking up the phone and calling somebody, or is she doing a quick form online that's going to hopefully take her less than a minute or two that she can move on with her day? Finally, she becomes a customer, manages through the website or the mobile app, and then gives us different opportunities to re-engage that and grow that account. The whole purpose of this process, though, is to identify all these different steps and identify the content that we need for each of these personas at each of the steps, and then identify any gaps in that content we have, and then apply it to the website and hopefully become engaging and frictionless. Once we've done that, we can start to look at actually being personalized and predictive. And this step is really just an extension of that engaging and frictionless step. And I guess why would we want to be personalized and predictive? When we think about personalization, one of the first brands we tend to think about is Amazon, and they've been extremely successful with it. It's widely reported that 35% of all of Amazon purchases are based on product recommendations, and these could be in-app product recommendations. They could be on the website if you have a certain thing in your cart. They're doing cross buys and cross sells and things like that. Or it's also email recommendations. But either or, that product recommendation engine is actually making up over a third of their purchases. Netflix is the other big one that comes to mind. When you think about content consumed digitally, Netflix is probably the largest supplier, if not maybe second to YouTube. But what's astonishing is their content recommendation engine, which is probably one of the strongest around, accounts for 75% of all content consumed on Netflix. 75%. It also constitutes over $1 billion in savings per year to Netflix. And the reason for that is Netflix model is obviously monthly recurring revenue. They need all of us paying that $9.99 a month or $14.99 a month, whatever it is now, every month, and not even think about it. Because if one of us is to cancel, it's obviously expensive to replace us. So they need to keep us engaged by obviously making us watch shows, making us watch videos and things like that. And they do that through their content recommendation engine. The other thing they do that people might not understand is not only is the recommendation tailored specifically for you, but the imagery that they use is also tailored specifically for you. So their machine learning algorithms might predict that my next best show is Riverdale, but they're not just going to show a generic Riverdale advertisement. They're actually going to look deeper into who I am and say, you know what, he's more into thriller than he is romance. Let's use the thriller imagery to further entice him with that click. And that also applies to our industry. There's other studies showing that in like the greater Illinois area, depending on where you are, you're close to the Green Bay Packer territory versus Chicago Bears, changing on imagery reflecting one of those two teams can actually influence click rates by up to 20%. So it's not just Netflix, it works for all of us. And it's actually said in the last 2019 digital banking report that 73% of our consumers, of banking consumers, actually expect special treatment for being a customer. You know everything there is to know about them. So as they come to interact with you, whether it be on the website or in-app, they expect products to be tailored towards them. So what exactly does that look like? We know probably 75% of the traffic to your website is people actually log into online banking. But again, if they're coming to your site and if you know I've been on autotrader.com, if you know I've been looking at auto loan rates, switch out that hero image and show me, an ad for that auto loan. Whereas on the flip side, if I've been on Zillow, if I've been on Expedia looking at, vacation trips, if I've been looking at cruises and things like that, don't show me an auto loan ad. Show me an ad for, your travel rewards credit card, something that's going to apply to me, not just that generic ad. Once we kind of map out what we want this to look like, the next step in that process is expanding that content analysis that we created in that first stage and actually looking to personalize it. So what we like to create is this content persona matrix. So we take all of our personas that we want to personalize for, identify primary and secondary products for those personas, and then identify where on the website or in-app we want to personalize, and then actually lay out what those personalizations are going to be. So if we know auto buying Anna is coming to the site, that homepage hero should be an auto picture, and then we'll reuse that same auto picture within the online banking application. Once we've done all of that, and the nice thing about everything up until this point has really been something that a lot of you can do on your own. You don't necessarily need a partner or a tech team to do it. A lot of that's planning and strategy around how people are going to engage with this site and what type of content you need. Once we get to driving personalization, now we're talking about data, and this is where you might need some technical help. But when we talk about data-driven personalization, there's really three types of data we like to rely on for that personalization. First type of data is first party data. This is the data that you already own about your customers. So as a bank or credit union, you have a lot of information about your customers. You know their householding information, you know how old they are, you probably know their annual salary, you know their affluence level, you know where they live, you might know if they have children, you know all their debit card transactions, you know if they're paying a mortgage to a different mortgage company, you know where the auto loans and things like that. That's a lot of data that you can leverage to do personalization across all of your digital channels. The second type of data is second party data. And this is essentially someone else's first party data. So picture that auto trader example I talked about earlier. You can buy auto trader's data and know which of your members or customers have been going on auto trader and then hit them up with that auto loan. The third and probably most popular is what we call third party data. And this is probably the more complicated to understand as well. When I like to think about third party data, I think about essentially our digital footprint. So as I interact with different brands and content on the internet and on my phone, I'm leaving a bread trail behind me. So on my phone, I'm looking at social ads on Instagram and interacting with those ads. I have a Southwest app because I travel a lot for work. I'm on YouTube looking at soccer training videos. I coach my kids' soccer team, but I don't necessarily know anything about soccer. So every Monday before practice, I'm Googling videos of, how to do different drills and things like that. These are all different ways I interact with different brands digitally. All that creates a picture of me. And these third-party data providers called DMPs or data management platforms will sell you segments. So when I come to your site, it's not going to say, this is Derek, he's 41 years old, he's the CTO of SilverTech, and he's a soccer dad. But he will say, these are the segments that this visitor falls into. He's a male, 35 to 50. He's an IT professional. He's a business traveler, and he's probably a soccer dad. This is data you can buy from these data management platforms. You can then use to kind of drive your personalization. This is how we typically do it. So in order to do this, you really need an enterprise level content management system that can essentially leverage all this data that we're pulling in from this data management platform or from your own internal data warehouse for that first party data. Get that into the personalization engine of the content management system, combine it with your content, and as people come to browse your site, either anonymously based upon that DMP or through to come into online banking, we know who they are, we can serve up those customized ads. Once it's built, it's actually really easy for the marketing teams that build it. This is an image of one particular CMS. As you can see, it's an Outlook-like rule builder. Marketing go in, click on that hero banner, essentially build rules. When the visitor qualifies for money market account 1, show them this promo. When visitor falls into persona X, show them this persona. You can build up all these different rules, and as people meet those rules, the content for them changes on the website. So that was personalized and predictive. The next step that we like to talk about in the digital experience roadmap is one-to-one banking. And this is really, again, just an extension of the step we just took. The previous step was personalizing based on persona, insight behaviors, and things like this. One-to-one banking is really looking at your existing customers and saying, okay, I know I need to increase core deposits next quarter, to increase loans later on. How do I go about doing that? Identify the customers that, first of all, can afford, a money market account, and then identify which ones might be applicable to it. And then when they come in to specifically log in, I can hit them with a one-to-one product offer. I can do that through email and things like that. Another example of that is making sure our data is clean. Going back to my auto buying experience and loan, the company I got the loan through put me into a marketing funnel, but then left me there for 6 weeks. So I purchased a loan through them, but I was still getting loan information about loans and things like that. We need to make sure our data is clean to make sure we're doing one-to-one banking correctly. And then finally, how does all this work? And this is where it starts to really get technical and a little bit more complicated. But when you're this high up that experience roadmap, this is really the next step. All of our banks and credit unions have lots and lots of data. In fact, the latest digital banking report said most bank marketers have 18 sources of customer data. And that could be, obviously, your core system, could be Excel files that different sales reps are using, could be your householding information, your online banking information. Maybe you have a CRM and CIF. But the point is you have lots and lots of different sources of data. To do one-to-one banking well, we need to take all this data, which might be unstructured or scattered throughout the organization, and then leverage tools like machine learning and artificial intelligence to analyze that data, build models around that data, and then get the insights and promos out that make sense to us. This might sound more complicated than it is, and I'm not going to glaze over how difficult it is, but there's platforms today on tools like Amazon AWS and Microsoft Azure that at least have already pre-built a lot of these modules. And I'm sorry, not modules, models for predicting next best products or doing classification of customers and things like that. What you need is your internal business intelligence or data teams to help you kind of gather all that data and then use those existing models to kind of help you get the insights and things that you're looking for. Once you've done that, now we're really looking at that next step, which is conversational banking. But a lot of people understand what conversational banking is. It's what it sounds like. A lot of us are already, interacting with devices through conversation today. I know one of the first things I do when I wake up is, ask Alexa what the weather is like today, just so I know how to think about getting dressed as I'm getting ready and things like that. Like my kids do the same thing, but there's no reason I couldn't be doing that with my bank accounts as well. I know when I go grocery shopping, I keep my checking account, my savings account, and my debit card account all separate. And I don't know how many times I've been at the checkout lane and I don't have enough money in my debit account to pay for my groceries, and I'm in the grocery store trying to transfer money. There's no signal, and I'm looking like a fool. Whereas if on the way to the grocery store, I could just say, hey Siri, do I have any money in my debit account, and then transfer it right then and there while I'm driving. That's the expectation I'm looking for, because frankly, that's the expectation I have after engaging with other brands through interfaces like this. So that kind of sums up the pyramid we've been talking about. But I want to emphasize that a lot of the things we talk about, especially towards the higher end of that digital journey roadmap, are pretty cutting edge. There's not a lot of banks and credit unions doing that today. Obviously, you have Bank of America with Erica and their chatbot assistant, but they're really the only ones that are kind of doing this thing. So you don't have to be too overwhelmed by this. What we like to employ is a crawl, walk, run approach to this. Where crawling is, like I said, let's make our site modern and relevant, and then start to look at what types of data can we leverage. Someone comes to our site, all of our customers can easily put into segments based upon financial cohorts and things like that. We start to personalize on those very, very simple things. After that, we start to look at things like third-party data to start to personalize on information we might not have about them. Are they on sites like AutoTrader? Are they in the market for home equity line of credit? Let's leverage the third-party data to do that. And then once we're doing there, then we can really start thinking about how do I leverage machine learning and artificial intelligence to really drive those personalized conversations across the digital platforms. But again, it doesn't have to be this year or even next year, but it's something we want to start thinking about as we enter those crawl and walking stages and what the future is going to look like for us.